Ian Beckett, councillor Ian Beckett, is there a Christian socialism? Does it still exist? And if it does, is it thriving or just surviving?
I think from my perspective, the word socialist has been dropped. It's quite interesting. The Christian socialists, as they were in the UK, now call themselves Christians on the Left, and in fact I'm a member of Christians on the Left. I'm also a member of a cross-party organisation called Christians in Politics. So that's made up of Christians on the Left, the Lib Dem Christian Forum, and the Conservative Christian Fellowship. And I think the significance there, I think the significance in the shift in the name, I'll be honest with you, I don't know enough about the historical background of the Christian socialist movement, but I know it came to mean a lot of different things, both within this country, but more particularly I think in Europe. And I think that there was potentially some bigger baggage in Europe that made them think, actually, is the name becoming a barrier? And I think the word barrier is quite significant here, because what I think the Christian political movements are actually interested in doing is breaking down barriers on both sides, both on the faith side, but also on the political side. So, if we relate that to the shift that I've had, 4 years ago, in election terms, one of my doorstep mantras would be, at the end of the day, yes, I do care who you vote for, but the most important thing is that you vote. I now tweak that slightly differently because I think it does matter who you vote for. So there might be situations where I prefer that you stayed at home if what you were actually voting for was something that undermined what I consider to be decent, common standards that I think are reflected in the mainstream part of most political parties within this country, not necessarily reflected on the fringes.
And so, for example, you mentioned Christians on the Left. Is there quite a divergence of opinion, though?
Absolutely. And that's, to some degree, I find that that's where some of the irony is, because there's tensions everywhere. I'm noticing those tensions more so in the political arena at the moment than I think I have done since I rejoined the Labour Party some 20 odd years ago. We claim both within the church, or certainly within the church environments that I frequent, to be a broad church. And what we mean by that is we have tolerance, we have the right to disagree on all kinds of things. I got involved, I'm a regular attender now at St Stephen's Church in Harlow. I got involved in their PCC, their parochial church council, because there was work that needed to be done, and I saw that I had a role from it. Didn't expect it to be political, but in some respects at the time it was more political than some of the political meetings that I was going to, and that's not uncommon. People just don't call it by the same name. But the issues, the dynamic issues in terms of breadth of opinion, are reflected in both political circles and church circles. The tensions are the same, and those tensions revolve around difference. And again, come back to the word barrier. What I think that we're involved with, certainly Christians in the Left and Christians in Politics, but also within the church, is identifying those barriers from people getting on and making a difference in their community. And so it's about identifying those barriers and doing our best to remove them.
And how do you find a balance? I mean, if you're within your church, but you're a politician, do you have to make sure you're not? You have to introduce the political subjects quite diplomatically, or is it natural?
I don't think about it so much. I think possibly that I did. I mean, I've been on the PCC, I think 3 years now. and perhaps I was a little bit cautious, you know, in terms of, because it's about developing relationships, and but now I think that people know me well enough. I spoke, you know, the other side of the coin is I spoke to the Heart for Harlow prayer meeting 2 nights ago on Sunday, and it's because it's also about identity. I began my contribution by saying, "Good evening, my name's Ian Beckett. I'm a Christian," and was about to speak. Suddenly, I got a round of applause, and it's like, "Well, thank you." I said, "I know why you're greeting me in that way, and for most of you, it doesn't surprise you. But if I stood up at a full council, and I might do at some point, and introduce myself, you know, hello, it's Ian, thank you, Chair, Ian Beckett, Christian, speaking here, then that would surprise a lot of people. Possibly it wouldn't now that this has gone out, but it is. I want people to know that it's part of my identity. I want people to know that I'm comfortable with that being part of my identity. I also want to empower other people. I mean, I had a conversation with Robert Findlay, who's the town chaplain, in the context of developing this debate, and between us, we were only able to safely identify 3 current Harlow councillors who we could say with any confidence were practising Christians. 3 out of 33. Now, I don't say that that's necessarily a problem, and there may well be other members of the council that hold similar beliefs but don't feel comfortable in putting their hand up. And I want us to get beyond that, because I think what we need to understand, if we're going to change politics, and I think this is the nub of the matter, I think that there is desirable change that needs to take place, particularly at a community level, particularly at an engagement level in politics in this country and in this town. If we're going to change that, we need to empower people to turn around and say, I agree with that and I disagree with that. So on Sunday, when I was speaking to, again, a diverse group of people, at the end of the meeting, someone came up and said, I like what you said, I can see where you're coming from. And what I was saying, I want, to that particular group, I want to see a time when more people are joining political parties. I'm not telling you which political party, any political party, and are actually engaged in the decision-making process. And a woman came up to me afterwards and she said, my concern is that if I was to do that, I might get treated a bit like Tim Farron was. And that's the problem for a lot of people. They naturally respond to how they see politicians who have raised their head above the parapet, to use perhaps an appropriate metaphor, and been treated. What I would say is, with no disrespect to present company, the treatment was by the media, not by the members of his political party. There were a lot of people that were very unhappy that one particular aspect of his particular Christian belief was latched onto and waved at him like a flag every single time he had a camera in front of him. Now, you might say that goes with the territory, but it disempowers people from holding on to beliefs that are as controversial as you want to make them. I disagree with the particular that Tim held on to, but I would fight for his right to hold on to that particular point of view.
We've veered into the world of Voltaire and philosophy. So do you find it difficult? Just a couple more questions. Do you find? But you're not a councillor who holds back, and you do when it comes to in the chamber, when it comes to confronting the other parties and holding up a mirror to them. Does that ever make you feel like you should hold back and be a little bit more small C Christian?
I'd like to think, and I'm not saying that there haven't been exceptions, but I'd like to think that I have moderated my approach over the last year, and more particularly over the last 6 months. I've certainly been more conscious of how I use social media, and that's not to say that I've not been deliberately provocative with social media, because I think one of the most important things is that we encourage people to think about what they do and how they behave. But you also have to, if you're going to lay that kind of thing down, you also need to turn the microscope on yourself and say, am I being consistent here? In terms of the exchanges in the chamber, I'd like to think that I've always been fair. Yes, I've taken the opportunity to throw a few punches every now and again, but I'm really interested in advancing this notion of grown-up politics. One of my biggest frustrations with full council meetings is that a lot of people on both sides see it as an opportunity to replicate PMQs, Prime Minister's Questions Time. It's like, oh, the cameras are pointing at us, this is going to be reported, people are going to look out for this, so let's play Punch and Judy. And that's what the people outside see. That's what the people that I'm trying to encourage to engage in the process see, and they say, oh, it's another version of what we see on a Wednesday lunchtime. I don't really like that. That's not what I want to get involved in. What they don't see is the consensus politics that happens a lot of times in licensing committees. Sometimes in planning committees, planning can be a little bit more fraught. But in things like cabinet overview, where you have disagreements, but more often than not, by my experiences, you either have consensus or you have agreed to differ in a much more congenial way than you do at full councils.
Yeah, and I guess you might mean one of the scrutiny committees where recently there was a matter of to do with employment benefits, etc., and both parties were there, but all asking questions and express their concern for whether people who are unemployed are getting their money. So finally, do you think we're in a healthy future for Christians on the left?
I hope that there's a healthy future for Christians in politics. I'm not going to shy away from my allegiances, but I think that if people from all political persuasions that are practicing Christians as well actually become active in politics, we can see a sea change in attitude. I think that we will see different decisions made in some cases as a consequence. We might also see the same decisions made, but fuelled by the Christian faith and the Christian philosophy to drive things forward for the best for Harlow.